Okay, so now that we've got the recording going, I'm going to throw a couple things in the chat and I'll be sure to include these in the email as I send them out. So let me grab the first one. The first one is the agenda that we're going to talk about today. So what do we bring to the table at a business review? And then the second is a full output from Lifecycle Insights of the QBR your customer deserves. Now, I want to talk about QBRs in general and the fact that I just stated you certainly don't have to have Lifecycle Insights to build a quality QBR. You have the tools, you have Excel spreadsheets, and you're all technical, so you have the ability to pull these pieces together. So I'm going to talk through what a business review needs to involve, and you can figure out, do I have the manpower bandwidth to do that manually? Or might a tool like a Lifecycle Insights help you automate those pieces? But you have the templates in front of you. You can see exactly the secret sauce that is Lifecycle Insights. We're not shy about that. Whether or not you choose to automate with us, that is totally your call. But the goal for Lifecycle Insights is to give you that quality QBR and to make it repeatable and scalable. So Alex, former MSP, had a sign over his desk that said, if you have to do something twice, automate it. And that's what doubly frustrated him about business reviews, is that he was just manually cobbling together pieces, but he was doing the same type of work over and over again. So if the goal of a QBR is to be proactive and strategic, and we want to make it repeatable and scalable, let's talk about the process that we're going to use and the output. So I'm going to go through two pieces, and this really will be half an hour because it doesn't take long to get where we're going. I'm going to show you the data collection process and kind of the creation of a business review. And then I'm going to reverse that and talk about the presentation of a business review. Feel free to ask questions as we go along. I'll try to check them out in chat. And at the end, I'll make sure I answer everything for everybody. So I'm going to show my screen, and we're going to start by talking about the presentation. Talking about the data collection piece. So I think I have completely hidden my screen at this point, and you just saw a very messy desktop. So let me try that again and grab, there we are. Now I lost Zoom. All the things you would think. I have not done hundreds of webinars in my life, but here we go. All right, let's try that again. Okay, so now you should be looking at a data integration page. So we're talking about how we collect data to do at a business review. So Lifecycle Insights aims to pull company, asset, and user information, because we're going to use this to inform some of the recommendations that we're going to make in a business review. The business review, we're going to do a bit of a status update, but we're going to show their ROI for what you bring to the status and how it's changed since the last time you spoke. We're going to talk about goals and recommendations you have to help them accomplish their business goals. And we're going to talk about risk assessment and suggestions and recommendations you have for mitigating those risks. So if we look at data integrations, with Lifecycle Insights, we require something on the top row: Data Auto Task, ConnectWise Manage, IT Glue, Synchro, or Halo PSA. Why is that? That is because that is where we're going to pull your companies, your assets, and your contacts over. And you'll see why we need that when we get to the reporting piece. Next up, we will clean up some of your asset data with warranty lookups. So we do Dell, Lenovo, HP, Microsoft Surface, Cisco, Meraki, and SmartNet. And then we can enhance and further supplement the data with Microsoft 365 or LineGuard. And we just released, some of you were on the call yesterday, our Breach Secure Now integration. So I have to update my slide from as early as yesterday, because we can also pull Breach Secure Now reporting. So that is where we're going to start with the data, but there is more to come. So let me pop out of this slide. And I would love to pop out of that slide. There we go. And now let me show you Lifecycle's dashboard and what we do with that information once we have pulled it over. So now we're looking at the dashboard of Lifecycle Insights, and we're in for an individual company. So you can see I've got my choice of companies at the top here. And I get a view of my data quality score and any missing fields. So like I said, we'll go do warranty lookups as part of our process. But if you still have some missing components, Lifecycle Insights believes that if you're missing data, you're missing opportunities, and there are potential security holes in your client's site. So you really need to get an eye on what that looks like. So in here, you would look for any report where you have blue data, which hid as soon as there we go. So any place there and I'm missing information in the end of life column, this is something that you may want to address before you do a business review. So the purpose of pulling over this information is so that we can build an asset list for our client. Now, there are lots of ways to look at this asset list. I'll make it a little larger so you can see what's on there. But many folks start by taking a look at what they know may be a problem for the client. Again, we're doing that initial data collection so that we can make recommendations for the client. So let's take a look at where our operating systems are red. So we are typical stoplight reporting, red, yellow, green. Red is bad, green is good. And I can see here, that would be a problem, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, because you've got some Windows 7 machines that we need to eliminate. So we can use this asset list to do some digging into the information we have on what we need to help the customer resolve. You could take a look at things like where my warranties are expiring or expired, but the devices themselves are either nearing end of life or not. So here I have warranties that are expired, but these devices have a couple years left on them. So maybe I want to go get a manufacturer warranty. Or let's take a look at the one that's expiring in just a couple of months. Maybe that one we just play a little game of chicken on, or go ahead and replace the asset early. So you have those options. But this is really where you start diving in to what they have and what you need to do to mitigate problems that you see coming. Similarly, in the data collection component is the users. So here we've got ConnectWise, our demo site set up on ConnectWise. We've got our Breach Secure Now integration and Microsoft 365. For the record, if you don't have Breach Secure Now, we'll eliminate those columns and the report would still have plenty of information for you to share with clients. So here I can look at healthy users are ones that have been tracked in the PSA as well as in Microsoft 365. Curious, however, is when their last activity date is red. So that's more than 30 days overdue. You may say, are there users that have been on extended medical leave and they've got usernames and passwords? Did somebody get hired and then leave immediately and we never turned off their account? Somebody could, one, be paying for those licenses where you can do a cost savings, and two, could be that it's a security hole because those passwords are out there somewhere. So that's how we use the user components that we pull. Now, the other piece we automate from the primary integration. So for our site, we pull over from ConnectWise Manage the contracts, which can also be added manually. Why would we do this? When we import our contracts, so it's agreements, sub-agreements, or additions, depending on which PSA you're looking at, we pull those over because our goal is to automate a full budget forecast for your clients. Why? It is a very strategic move. You become a strategic advisor when you don't just come in and blindside folks with like, hey, tomorrow your server expires, so I'm going to need 10 grand. But to be able to project for them both a tactical budget, 6 quarters detail of every asset that's going to be replaced, as well as a 5-year total cost of ownership budget that includes all of the contracts, not just the ones they're spending on you, but those other ones, such as VoIP, copier, printer services, ISP, etc. When you add those contracts to the budget forecast and give us 5-year wide angle guess budget, it does a few things. First, it gives you insight into more of their tech stack that maybe you could be selling services into. If they're using a different VoIP provider and you want to get them on OIT, for example, if you had access to that information with them through this conversation, then to be able to say, I see that your assets are your phone contract is expiring in the next 3 months. Would you like to take a look at another offering? Gives you insights into additional opportunities. And again, it allows you to project that full budget forecast so that in 2 years, when you do have servers come due, that the conversation is about when and how they're going to replace those servers, not if they're going to replace those servers. And the reality of it is we know that that's the way the conversation often lands if you don't have that strategic component. So I'm now going to show you the budget forecast that we just talked about. So we pull all of those pieces we've mentioned, the assets when they expire, the contracts, both yours as well as any third-party ones that you've added manually. And you can also see on here that recommendations are pulled. I'll talk through how they land here in a minute, but you just want to see that the details come through so that you can, again, toggle the conversation between the tactical, what we're doing right now, and that strategic long-term vision. With both the detail view and that spreadsheet view where we just, C-suite often needs the big number before they start diving into the individual details. So the budget forecast has a lot of flexibility to be able to report on different components, different asset types, as well as quarterly, monthly, yearly, up to 12 periods. So a lot of flexibility and power to give the information that they need the way that would be useful for your client to see it. So I like to take a pause right here and say that that is the component of Lifecycle Insights that is automated. Our bet is that is the component that is the longest struggle for you along the way. One of our partners, Raj, happily talks about the fact that it used to take him 12 hours to build this exact budget. And now he can do the entire business review prep in 90 minutes. He said, if you told me in 90 minutes I had to do a business review for a client, I could get the entire thing done. But it used to just take me 12 hours to build this budget. So that automation, we hope, is very powerful and useful to MSPs, because for sure, that is why we built it. The next piece I'm going to talk about is the other strategic part of a business review, which is the risk assessment. And here, if you haven't already downloaded the QBR your customer deserves, that's the second piece I put in the chat. But this assessment you can see right in there. So if you want to play along at home, you can see what that looks like. So when I click into assessments, a couple pieces to talk about here is first, in manage assessment templates, we give you 10 templates right out of the gate. It is completely customizable. If you are coming from another platform, we can import your assessment into here. If you have it in a spreadsheet, many folks are doing discovery types of questions fairly consistently, but don't always have it documented in a platform. So if you have that in a spreadsheet, we have a file layout you can follow and import it. But I have to say that about 85% of our partners use our default assessment and just edit it to make it their own. So it's completely customizable. But we do give you a good jumping off point if you don't have something to work from. So I'm going to show you what it looks like to score an assessment. And for sure, I'm doing a 30-minute Thursday and showing you all the clicks, but it's going to take you some time to build this assessment. No question. For you to answer this the first time around, especially, you're going to have to go do a lot of research. You'll probably have to dig through some of the other reports and other tools that you have, interview the client on, do they have policies and procedures around MFA, two-factor authentication, least privilege access, those types of things. However, once you've done this assessment once, you can copy it and then update from there. So it makes it very easy moving forward. So the initial assessment will take some time for you to wrap your head around what you want to include in the assessment and what that looks like. But the actual the reporting beyond that and the analysis beyond that is very easy. So in a not surprising turn of events, Lifecycle Insights has red, yellow, green stoplight reporting in our assessment as well. So you can see that I can easily score assessment items. The asterisk in the left-hand column is what I previously scored. So maybe this item was at risk and we've solved that problem. I can now say it's satisfactory. You can see I can include public and private comments. I can show scoring instructions. I can create explanation and remediation tips. So if you're really looking to scale a process so that you can repeat this over and over and over again, that is a very powerful way to be able to document the way all of your account managers are going to do this work. If you're thinking, I don't have account managers, it's just me, then think about how easy it is if if you document all of this and then hire someone for them to transfer that, that what's in your head into their process when you've documented it in the place where the work happens. So that is really important to be able to do this. The other piece that I didn't mention is that you can show previous responses. So if you've given this assessment item before, you can see in my demo site, they're just a train wreck all the time. They're constantly at risk, but you can see previous comments. So if you, after your last business review, you typed in the note, the client agreed this is an issue they're willing to address in Q2 of 2022. Guess what? I'm going to remind them of it. And in Q2, I'm going to expect that they're ready to resolve that issue. So that's really a key piece in tracking this. And if you do this on spreadsheets and don't have a way and a method to go back and see that quickly, that often is what's get lost in the shuffle. And those are the items that fall through the cracks. So once you have done the assessment, I'm gonna give you a sneak peek look ahead at how you can show your ROI and what you've done for them lately. So here in the assessment comparison report, I can see where they were in terms of technology health and where they are now. And for sure, I can show in hardware that we've taken them from a 50% score to an 83%. So this is extremely powerful in two ways. One, you're definitely showing what you've delivered. But two, you could use this in a pre-sales opportunity. So you could give an assessment to a prospect and say, this is where you are right now. This is status quo. If you take my recommendations and work with us, we're going to move the needle this far when you first start working with this. So there's a lot of power in being able to show what you've done for them. That's not specifically talking about, I've done this many patch stacks, I've blocked, patches, I've blocked this many spam emails coming through, etc. Right? It's a much more strategic conversation about the health of your hardware, how we've looked at business continuity practices, etc. I'm going to go back into looking at assessments overall, because we really want to talk about the recommendation that comes next. So once you've scored your assessment, I can go grab that assessment that I just gave. And I'm going to take a look at some of the red items. I'm going to grab a few of them and say, I want to create a recommendation that will solve these business pains. So I'm going to click create recommendation from selected items, and you can see it automatically pulls over the business pain. This is what a lot of quoting tools are missing. A lot of proposal pieces where folks just send over numbers. This is more for the business pain that you're solving for the partner, so that when I connect the assets, what's causing that pain in the asset on bad pun cheesy day, is these operating systems of Windows 7. So now I've connected the dots for your partner. These pains will go away if I fix these pieces. So those recommendations will allow you to build a full roadmap for your partner over time and across all of your partners. It gives you better insights for your project team, it gives your partner better insights into where their money's going, how it's being spent with the recommendations you're solving for them. So those are most of the components that we talk about in a business review. There are a few other pieces, but I promised that I would show you the data collection component and then what that looks like in the reporting feature. So the goal of Lifecycle Insights from the very beginning was to rather let you create an easy button that lets you build your portfolio of what you would like a business review report to look like. So you can see that in Report Builder, I have the ability to compile and add these components, any, all, more, less, etc., of these components into what is going to be your process for a business review. I've already created one, cleverly titled Marnie's Favorite Template, of the way I would present a quarterly business review. So I've got my agenda, an executive summary where I take some of the screenshots off our dashboard to show the technology health and the tech debt that we need to resolve. The assessment summary. This is the assessment summary from the report that I just went through with you. The beauty of our assessment summary is that the recommendations come through at the end so that you can see all of the at-risk items along with the comments that you have made as to how you're going to solve their business pain. I include that assessment comparison report because that's really valuable, powerful for them. a 5-year budget forecast, a 6-quarter detail line item budget forecast. One thing I like to point out here is keep in mind, I just built this template and I'm in Creative Designs. But if tomorrow Get Well Medical Services wants a business review, I can go click on Get Well Medical Services and it's going to replicate this with all of their data. Now I'm going to have done an assessment for them, right? And create recommendations for them specifically. But the budget forecast, the user list, which I'll show you in a minute, that all piles over into Get Well Medical with their data. So let me go back to Creative Designs. The recommendations that I've built are available in the report. So maybe I want to use this one. I would pre-select them ahead of time. And then I can also include my asset list. So these are assets nearing warranty expiration. And this at this point, well, that was very important data in the collecting and the deciding what I wanted to talk about at the business review. At this point, it's part of the appendix because I'm talking about it as aligns with recommendations and I'm not going through all 10 pages of red assets, right? We're having that conversation other ways. We can have that user conversation. We can maybe update the contract list. If you're a Breach Secure Now partner, we have the Breach Secure Now report as well, along with an overview of tickets that doesn't cause for really getting pulled down a rabbit hole around tickets. Hopefully you resolved that before you got there, but a summary of what you've done for them. The beauty of Report Builder is that now I can replicate this so it's always up to date. Time after time, right? Anytime I come in, I get an up-to-date Creative Designs or Get Well Medical Services report. I can download this to Word, especially if I need to do update or want to print it out, but I can also put this in presentation mode. And in presentation mode, this basically eliminates the need for you to create a PowerPoint from this, and you can click through it, similar to PowerPoint slides, but you can also manipulate inside it. So if they say, what's that one workstation I'm replacing next year? You can dive in and give them the actual details. So a lot of power at your fingertips, but easy reporting, the goal, red, yellow, green, make it simple for execs, right? We like to say at Lifecycle Insights, we help MSPs sell to execs, not techs, because it gives you more strategic conversation, less tech talk, and puts in front of them the business pains and the risks that they have aligned to the needs and recommendations that you make as their IT consultant strategic partner. So I promised a 30-minute Thursday. I'm 27 minutes in. So I will take any questions in the chat. As I do that, I'm going to pull up our pricing page as well, because a lot of folks, the first question is, how much does it cost? So we have a free trial for up to 5 customers for 30 days. So what most folks do is select this trial, plug in their integration, take a look at the data, let us do warranty lookups for you, and then start looking at their process and who they would want to scale up to from there. So any questions, let me know. But this is the story of Lifecycle Insights and really how we aim to automate your business review process so you can have the strategic conversation, not just technical or tactical. Checking my chat, which is over here. Why wasn't this available when I was an MSP? Sorry, Ray, enough people had to struggle for this so that it was a big enough pain point for us to solve, I guess, you know? I appreciate that. We do believe it makes it easier for folks, for sure. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining. I'm going to stop sharing now. I will send you the recording, also the links to both that agenda doc and the template of the QBR your customers deserve. If you have any questions, we're always easy to find, info@lifecycleinsights.io, or I'm marnie.stockman@lifecycleinsights.io. So thanks so much. Have a good one.